All right, man. Let me have a conversation with y'all right quick. I'm not sure what I'm going to title this joint just yet, but I want to tell you guys a story, right? And I've told this story before. Now, here's my caveat before I go into the story. I'm not telling this story to brag or to talk shit or anything like that. And let me just say this regarding bragging. Having sex with women casually is nothing to brag about. Having a bunch of sex is nothing to brag about. In the grand scheme of life, it means absolutely nothing. Okay, let me say that shit again. In the grand scheme of life, as far as what life really means and all the different things that you can actually get out of life, having casual sex or anything like that is far down the scale. It's absolutely meaningless, right? It truly is, right? And I've said this about sex. All sex is, at least to me, is a physical act that feels good. There are way more important things than sex. And there's way more value to women than just having sex with them, right? I just want to point that out before I tell this story. Now, the reason why I'm telling this story is because oftentimes when we do the Manhood is a Skill Set show, Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, or the Real Game No Theory podcast, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Sundays, we often get calls, right? And also when Steve and I do the Sex Talk show on Tuesdays and also the Pineapple shows on Wednesdays, we get these calls. And oftentimes it's a reoccurring theme where these guys act like they don't know what they want. And we ask these guys, what do you want? When you're having conversations with these women, whether you meet them on a dating app, you meet them face to face, whatever the case may be, what do you want? And whatever it is you want, whatever it is, whatever your thought process is, like when you meet that young lady and you're looking at her and you're thinking about the things that you're interested in or that you would like to do in relation to her, why don't you express that to her? Why don't you convey those thoughts? And I'm not saying convey them without cleaning them up. Sometimes you can have a thought, but when you talk to women, you can clean up that thought where you can make it more appealing, where the woman can visualize what it is you want to do, right? You feel what I'm saying? Now, so let me tell this story. So years ago, right, a friend of mine, he calls me up and he says, yo, my homegirl's having this little get together at her crib, this little party at her crib. Why don't you come through? Right? So I'm like, all right, fuck it. Right? So I come through to the crib and they introduce me to the young lady. And her and I are kind of just smiling at each other because we met each other before. So let me give you the backstory, right? And then you can kind of understand the whole point of this video when I talk about whatever is on your mind, whatever it is you really want to do with women, make it happen. Speak to that. Don't cloak what you're trying to do. Don't hide what you're trying to do. Get to the point of what it is you want to do. Either it's going to happen or it's not, right? And it shouldn't matter to you either way. Just get to the point. So the backstory is months prior to me being invited to this little get together or whatever, right? This young lady, how we met was, it was at a little downtown spot. And at the time that we met, I was not in the right mind frame, right? I was irritable, right? At some shit that had happened earlier, right? I had an irritable nature about me. So when I was introduced to her, visually, I noticed that she was a good looking woman, but I was not really in the mind state to get at her. So it was kind of like we were introduced to each other and it was, all right, nice to meet you. And that was it. You know, I didn't try to holler at her or nothing like that because I was not in the right mind state. So we just met in passing, right? Literally a few seconds. And that was the extent of our meeting. But I remember what she looked like, though. So now, fast forward months later, I'm standing in her living room. Now, this is her crib. Now, I'm going somewhere with this. This is her crib. I'm standing in her living room, right? So we're looking at each other like, I remember you, right? So we did remember each other. So let me stop for a second. When I ask you guys, say, man, what do you want to do with this young lady? Right? We're usually asking that because you're bullshitting. So here I am, months after being introduced to this young lady in passing. I'm standing in her living room. I'm literally looking at the door of her bedroom. Like, I'm standing in the living room talking to her. I'm looking at the door of her bedroom. And I'm saying to myself, I'm going to be in that motherfucker by the end of this evening, fucking the shit out of her. Because in my mind, I'm like, I'm in this woman's crib that I'm attracted to. I'm in her crib. So for me, it made no sense to offer a date. It made no sense to try and get her phone number. I wasn't thinking about none of that. I was looking at that bedroom. I'm talking to her. I'm looking at that bedroom. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have her in that motherfucker tonight, right? That's what I was thinking about. So because my mind was, I'm in her crib, I'm looking at her bedroom, I'm fucking, I wasn't thinking about nothing else but making that happen with regard to her specifically, right? So boom, we're talking, right? And then let me just say this real quick, okay? And I got to throw this part in there too, because guys are so scared of upsetting women. They're so scared of losing out on an opportunity to have sex, right? So while her and I are talking, right, I get a phone call, right? I get a phone call, and I'm looking at my phone, and the phone call was from a young lady I had recently met that I've been trying to connect with, and her and I kept playing phone tag with each other, right? So now that I'm sitting there and she's calling me and I'm looking at my phone, I answer it. Although the shorty that I'm trying to fuck by the end of the night, I'm in her crib, I'm getting a call from another woman that I'm trying to get at. I answer the phone. So I answer the phone, and guys, when you're on the phone with a woman, especially a woman that you are sexually and/or romantically interested in, your voice changes. Like it just does, right? So I'm on the phone, and I'm literally setting up a sexual rendezvous with another woman while I'm talking to this woman that I'm trying to smash by the end of the evening. So at some point while I'm talking, the young lady whose crib I'm in, she says, "Oh, excuse me, I guess I better leave you alone so you can have a private conversation." And I grab her arm. I said, no, it's going to be just a second. Just stay right there. So I finished setting up the situation. Then I take her, because I think she lived on the second or third floor. She lived in an apartment complex, either second or the third floor. So I take her, like, now bear in mind, she's having a little get together. So there's multiple people around. So I take her out onto her balcony so we can have a private conversation. So once we get out on the balcony, that's when we have the conversation that needs to be had, right? So to make a long story short, because there's way more to this story, and for those of you who were subbed to my last channel and you really rock with me, you remember this story. I told this story before, right? So my point is this. By the end of the night, I was in her bedroom doing exactly what I wanted to do, what I had my mind on. So when I was talking to her on that balcony, I was basically talking to her about her and I having more of a private, intimate moment. So shortly after her and I had that conversation on the balcony, we go back into the crib. You know, the get together goes on for a little while longer, and then she kicks everybody out. She says, "Everybody has been nice. Thank you for coming out. God bless, but it's time to go home. And then she grabs me, everybody but you, right? She holds my arm. Everybody got to go but him, right? Now, there's more to the story. I'm not going to tell the rest of it because that's not important. The point I want to make is this. When I very first met her in passing, right, I was attracted to her, but I was not in the right mind state at the time, so I really wasn't thinking about getting at her, so I never did. But I remember talking to my homeboy about it, like, damn, man, I should have got at shorty, right? This is why he called me up months later and invited me to her get-together, because he remembered, damn, my boy Kerry wanted to get at her. Here's his opportunity. Because I didn't know that he had developed a friendship with her and some other girls. There was a girl that he was fucking that was a friend of hers. So they all kind of developed this little social circle amongst them and all of that, right? So he said, I know my boy Kerry wanted to get at her. This is a perfect opportunity. So he didn't tell me when he called me up. He didn't say, you remember, old girl? It was kind of like, I'm going to surprise him because he ain't going to know. Right. So, of course, when I show up at the crib, I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, what's up? Right. So because of that, I'm like, I didn't think I was going to run into shorty again. Here I am presented with a second opportunity. Ain't no way I'm leaving this crib without dicking her down. So that was my mindset. Ain't no way I'm leaving tonight without dicking her down. I'm in her crib looking at her bedroom. I'm going to make this shit happen. So for all you guys that's always, what should I do? And always concealing what it is you want to do. And you act like you don't know what it is you want. If all you want to do is smash, present the woman with an opportunity. Either she takes it or she doesn't. I'm out.